GoForThe2.com in with the Week 7 rapid fire selections. Before I get into the picks for this coming weekend, this Saturday, October 17th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, college football today. Check it out. MSG Network, MSG Plus, Saturday, October 17th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I talk about all the top 25 battles, the under-the-radar games. We have some great guests on tap, so check it out. We are your college football tailgate. This coming Saturday, October 17th, sportsgrid.com, MSG Plus, MSG Network in the tri-state area, and then in-game live from 12 to 5, talking about all the in-game wagering analysis for the 12 and 1:30 games. We have some solid matchups: Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Auburn, just to wet the palate. We also have Pittsburgh, Miami. So stay with us this coming Saturday, 12 to 5, sportsgrid.com, 12 to 5, and then 10 to 12, college football today, MSG Plus, tri-state area. So check it out. Let's jump into the rapid fire selections. Talking about that game in Knoxville, Tennessee opened up as a 6-point favorite. They got this victory last year in Lexington by 4 points, held Lynn Bowden and the Kentucky offense to a 4th down goal line stand inside the 5-yard line. Jared Garantano stepped up, had a big fourth quarter drive to lead the Volunteers from a come-from-behind win against Kentucky in that ball game. 2 years ago in Knoxville, Kentucky got blown out by Tennessee. They were a one-dimensional offense in that ball game. Tennessee stepped up. I think it's a tale of two teams. You look at Tennessee last week, they look basically like a deer in the headlights in the second half. Garantano was playing well in the first half, found Josh Palmer. He threw for 215 yards against Georgia in the first half, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but they became a one-dimensional offense. Georgia was able to pressure Garantano. They couldn't stay in manageable third downs. He forced turnovers, forced interceptions, and that really changed the momentum of the ball game in the second half and why Georgia was able to run away with a 44-21 victory in Athens and Stanford Stadium. When you look at Tennessee, 2 keys for Tennessee why they lost that matchup last week. One was the front 7. They allowed 198 to Georgia. They got worn down by another big physical offensive line, and their inability to run the football and stay in manageable third down situations been a problem for Tennessee this year. They're only converting 26% on third downs, and that's the matchup to see play out going up against a very physical offense and defensive lines in Kentucky. When you look at Kentucky, what can you say? I mean, just a dominant effort, 24-2 over Mississippi State. They held KJ Costello in check. They held him to 45 of 70. Yes, 45 completions on 70 attempts. But more importantly, no touchdowns, 6 interceptions against the Bulldogs. They held Mississippi State under 100 yards rushing, but more importantly, only 3.9 yards per pass attempt. 3.9 yards per pass play. I mean, that was a dominant effort that I think could follow through on the road going up against Jared Garantano and the Tennessee offense. Tennessee could be walking through the motions, an emotional letdown after losing in the second half to Georgia. More importantly as well, their inability to move the football and move the chains consistently can be a concern going up against a Kentucky offense that wants to run the football, another big physical offensive line, and they're converting on third downs. As long as they can convert and sustain drives, they keep Jared Garantano and that offense on the sidelines, and that's the matchup. Kentucky converting 50% on third downs. To me, I think that's the difference of going with the more physical team in terms of running the football and shutting down the run. I think Kentucky strikes the upset this coming Saturday. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think it's like 24-21. Kentucky gets the victory over Tennessee this coming Saturday in Neyland Stadium. Keep an eye out. I think you'll also see Joey Gatewood, the former Auburn quarterback, utilized in red zone opportunities by Mark Stoops and the offensive staff in that ball game. So keep an eye out. Do feel that Kentucky picks up the 3-point outright win over Tennessee. Another big battle takes place in South Bend. Notre Dame dominated Florida State. They should have covered that matchup, didn't. They got stopped on the goal line, won that ball game by 16 points, but Ian Book had a big day. Kyron Williams had a big day. That offensive line had a dominant effort against an undersized defensive front in Florida State. Now, Notre Dame opened up as a 14-point favorite. It's up to 17.5 against Louisville, who got it. Technically, they got blown out by Georgia Tech by 17 points. That score wasn't really indicative of how the game played out. Louisville was in striking distance with about 4 minutes left, had an opportunity to get the victory, but couldn't convert on fourth down. Georgia Tech added 2 late scores in the ball game to really run away with that matchup. But keep in mind that these two teams played week number 1 last year. Notre Dame didn't cover that line. It was a 19-point number. They won that ball game by 18 points. You look at Louisville right now. They're not playing consistent football. They can't shut down the run. It started with Miami, giving up a lot of big plays. But they do have offensive playmakers that I think could challenge Notre Dame's defense over the top. And really, to me, that's the matchup going on the road in South Bend. To me, this is their Super Bowl. Louisville has nothing to play for at this point, but they do have playmakers. You have Tutu Atwell, Des Fitzpatrick, Javion Hawkins. To me, that's the matchup going up against the secondary of Notre Dame. I thought that Florida State didn't have the experience or the skilled personnel to really challenge Notre Dame's defense over the top, and they were still able to put up 26 points on that defense last week with Jordan Travis at the helm. Now here comes Malik Cunningham. He's only completing 58% of his passes. You have Javion Hawkins, 2 big fumbles last week, but he is rushing for 5.5 yards per carry. This is still an athletic defensive front in Louisville, giving up 156 rushing yards per game. I think Louisville can strike fast, strike early. In the end, Notre Dame wins, but the Cardinals do cover the 17.5-point number on the road in South Bend. This is their Super Bowl. Nothing to play for the rest of the year. They give it their all on the road against Ian Book and the crew and push Notre Dame to the limit this coming Saturday. Another big ball game takes place in Memphis. It's UCF and Memphis. UCF got stunned at home against Tulsa 2 weeks ago. They were a 21.5-point favorite, lost the game outright. Now both teams have a week off in terms of preparation, but it really comes down to the ability for Memphis to run the football on the front seven of UCF, and I think that's the matchup you'll see play out. UCF is allowing 212 rushing yards per game. I look at the front seven of Memphis as well. They're very physical in run support, giving up 100 rushing yards per game with Mike McIntyre. Very physical at the point of attack, playing solid third down defense. The way you have to challenge Memphis is over the top. Secondary's giving up well over 300 passing yards per game, but if they can make Dylan Gabriel and that offense one-dimensional, I think they'll be in this ballgame from start to finish. On the flip side, you have a Memphis offense that's averaging over 4 yards per carry, averaging over 180 rushing yards per game, have 2 solid playmakers on the perimeter in terms of the passing attack with Brady White, who's completing 70% of his passes. You have Kyle Evans and DeMonte Coxey, the tight end and wide receiver respectively, 32 receptions, over 397 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. This game comes down to which offense and defense do you believe more in. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think the game's going to come down to the fourth quarter. But in the end, give me Memphis playing at home. They're a much better team at home than they are on the road. When you look at UCF last year, they struggled. 3 losses last year. They all came on the road or on a neutral field site. They got challenged by Georgia Tech on the road, but that was with a freshman quarterback, Jeff Sims. Brady White's an experienced senior quarterback. I think they can move the football, and they keep Dylan Gabriel on the sidelines. Memphis outright over UCF this coming Saturday. Another big battle in the AAC between Cincinnati and Tulsa. This game comes down to physicality. You look at Tulsa coming off that victory over UCF, and you look at Cincinnati right now. I mean, Tulsa has played the better competition. I mean, they got knocked off UCF. They played very well week number 1 against Oklahoma State. And when you look at who Cincinnati's played, Army, Austin Peay, I mean, it's not even close in terms of the level of competition, but it comes down to the interior line. Desmond Ridder playing well. There's also backup Ben Bryant there. I think when you look at Cincinnati, they can run the football on the front seven of Tulsa. Still not sold on Tulsa in terms of physical group. I know they shut down Oklahoma State. I know they shut down UCF. Those are more spread offenses. Cincinnati's going to man you up, run a heavy formation, and run it down your throat. And I think that's the matchup you'll see play out. I think it's a tough ball game early on. But I think Cincinnati wins this ball game by 10 points. They did pick up this victory last year, 24-13. They were only able to rush for 145 yards on that front seven, 3.5 yards per carry. But I think they get a better effort with a week off of preparation will benefit Cincinnati more than Zach Smith and Tulsa. Cincinnati does get the double-digit win on the road in Oklahoma this coming Saturday. Stay with me all season long. Stay with me this coming Saturday. College football today from 10 to 12 on MSG Plus, and then in-game live 12 to 5 this coming Saturday on sportsgrid.com. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you on Saturday.